Hi everyone, Tom Wolf here. In this video, I'm going to be deconstructing one of the pad sounds from my soundbank Atomos. The pad sound that I'm going to be deconstructing is one called New Standard, and it sounds like this. And open the mod wheel. Okay, so you can hear that New Standard is quite an organic, quite a natural kind of sounding pad. It's got this glassy ambient kind of texture to it, but it's also got a little bit of graininess to it, a little bit of lo-fi-ness. And then on the mod wheel, we've got this gritty distortion that comes in. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I created this patch, and over here I've already deconstructed it. So the concept behind Atomos was to create these patches from these natural sound sources and try and turn them into something a bit different, a bit more unusual, something a bit cinematic. So this patch uses 3 sound sources. All of them are from Omnisphere's psychoacoustic library. They're all these incredible sounds from Diego Stocco, where he creates his own instruments and then they've sampled them to use in this library. So let's play you the individual sounds first. So on layer A here, we've got this archiphonico sound, which sounds like this. Okay, so on layer B, we have the Xperia-based sustain arco, which sounds like this. So that's a bit more kind of scratchy, a bit more kind of traditional string sound. And then on layer C, we've got the broken cello Dream Spirits, which sounds like this. So that one's got a lot of the kind of scratchy bow sound to it and quite a lot of quite uncomfortable harmonics that come in. So let's get started on how we created this. So first we're going to start with layer A. So let's switch that on. So let's play that sound again. Okay, so a lot of this patch revolves around the granular engine. Okay, so we switched that on. We've got our grain depth set to about 3/4. Intensity is very low. Smoothing's at about half. Maximum spread. And then we've got our detuning and our pitch grain set to off. So they're not affecting it at all. We've also got it set to position so that we can choose where in the sound that we want to sample. There's obviously a lot of relatively empty space here. So where we're going to take the sound from is this decay part here. So let's hear that. So we've got this very delicate ambient sound coming in there. I'm just going to switch the effects on for this channel. On the effect here, we had the precision comp, which flattens it a little bit, brings it out a bit more. So that'll be easier to hear with that on. So there we go. That's a very kind of ambient granular sound. But on this, we've got a bit too much attack. We've got the release set to 1.92 seconds there, but the attack at the moment is set all the way down. So let's turn that up to 2 seconds. There we go. So now we've got that slow attack that pad sounds need, because we don't want it to be too quick. So that's layer A. Let's have a little look at layer B. So this is our sound on layer B. So we've got a very kind of scratchy string sound. I've set the pitch to transpose it down 12 semitones. Let's switch on the granular engine for this. So on the granular engine, we've got the same settings. We've got the grain depth set to 3/4. We've got the intensity very low, smoothing around half. Maximum spread and no detuning or pitching. Still got it set to position. I've positioned it a little bit further in. Let's hear that. So we've still got that kind of bowed quality to it, but it's a little bit more roomy and ambient. On this one, I also modulated the position. So let's show the modulation. That's being controlled by LFO1. On LFO1, we've got a sine wave. It's set to unipolar, so it only goes to the right of the where it starts. I've not got the sync on, but we've got a very slow rate on that LFO. And let's hear that. So that just makes it sound a little bit more natural, because when you switch on the granular engine, you get this kind of static feel, especially when you've got it smoothed as much as I have here. It's not, you know, the intensity is quite low, so it's not this wild granular thing that's happening, and we want it to sound quite natural. The main thing is that we don't want it to sound too static, which is what happens when we don't modulate that position. Let's just play that again. Just makes it sound a little bit more natural. Okay, so now we've still got our attack set quite quickly, so we'll turn that up to 2 again, and that's just smoothed out the attack there. On this sound, I also had the filter, so let's switch that on. We've got it set to basic 12 dB low pass. We've got the cutoff relatively low, a little bit of resonance. I've also got the envelope amount turned up to just over half, so it is being modulated by the envelope, and the filter envelope is pretty much exactly the same settings as the amp envelope, although we have got the velocity turned up so we can get some nice dynamics in there. So that now sounds like this. And without the filter. So that's just taking that really kind of scratchy edge off the top there and making it sound a little bit duller. And then that also did not have any effect on that channel. So let's have a look at layer C. So this is how layer C sounded. So I love that scratchy bow sound that we've got there. That's what I wanted to bring out. So I used the granular engine to do that again. So we've got the same settings on the granular engine as we do on the other 2 layers. We've got it set to position again, and we've got the position right at the start, because what we want to capture is we want to capture this kind of scratchy bow sound there. So that sounds like this. So that adds this kind of ambience to the patch, and we are stretching that scratchy bow at the beginning there. Okay, so again, we want to turn the attack up. We'll turn that up to about 2 seconds. There we go. And then on the effects, so on the effects, we've got the Retroplex, which is this great sounding unit, really nice kind of delay. It, you know, creates this really ambient sound, really washy kind of sound, and you can just absolutely smother sounds in this. But I've not gone too crazy with this. We've got the mix set to about 1/3, delay setting 1, year 1975, and then nothing over here. We've not used the smash or the drive at all. So let's hear that now. Okay, so that layer just kind of creates this extra kind of grainy ambience to the patch, gives it a little bit of extra character. So that's what I did with all of the different layers. So we can now switch them all on and we can hear how that sounds. So we're getting there. We've got the kind of character of our patch. We've got that natural sound to it, but it's not quite there yet. So the next thing we want to do is we want to switch on the auxiliary effects, which is where we've got the proverb. And with the proverb, we've got the mix set to 100, the size at about 1/3, the time all the way up, got the density all the way up, and we've also got the diffusion all the way up. So this is giving us a really big reverb sound. Just need to turn the return up. So we'll put it at about 700. On each of the layers, we've got the auxiliary send turned up, a little bit extra on layer C, so we get more of that kind of scratchy sound in the auxiliary. So let's hear what that reverb adds. So we've now got this huge washy reverb tail that's come in there, which gives the patch that little bit of extra ambience. And on the common effects, we've got the precision comp, which is just going to kind of glue the sounds together, flatten out the dynamics a little bit so it's a bit smoother. And I've also got the imager. We'll come back to flame in just a minute. We've also got the imager, which isn't doing anything on the stereo field of it. I use this a lot as a utility, just to kind of control the gain, because it's a nice way of being able to control the gain without affecting anything too much. I could have changed the level on the precision comp, but then we'd get less feed into the flame distortion. So I'd want to, then that would affect the sound of the distortion. So I added this afterwards just to turn it down a little bit. So this is what our pad sounds like now. The final thing that we need to do is we need to look at the modulation wheel and find out what we did there. So that's really simple. Already mentioned the flame distortion that we've got here. Let's switch that on. At the moment, the mix is set to 0%. It's set to heat driver. We've got a fair bit of gain, a little bit of filtering. We've also got another flame distortion on the auxiliary. So let's just switch that on. Again, same situation. Now we just want to switch on our modulation. So we didn't have a lot of modulation in this patch. We've already switched on the control over the granular position. All we've got left is the mod wheel controlling the two different flame distortion units and controlling their mix. So let's unmute those. Now when we use that mod wheel, it's going to bring in the flame distortion. We've got one which is going to go underneath the proverb and one which is going to go on the overall sound. So let's hear that now. So that's added some quite light grit to the patch. But the reason why I like that, I mean, the concept behind Atomos, as I've already mentioned, was to create these cinematic patches from these natural sounds and morph those natural sounds. But it was heavily inspired by the score for Chernobyl. And I needed this kind of dark, gritty cinematic style to it. And this patch worked really perfectly with the flame distortion. So I like having it on the mod wheel because it means that you can have this clean ambient sound and then you can gradually bring in the distortion, which allows for this kind of constant motion as you sort of play the patch and you move the mod wheel around, and you can change the patch and make it fit what's happening on the screen a lot easier. So that is our patch. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I'm going to be making some more videos, so please do subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to check out Atomos and the other 99 patches in that set, there is a link to the product page in the description. Until next time, take care.